First, we'll have Yasmin and Sarah Virgi recite a verse from the Quran with the translations.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وأوحينا إلى أم موسى أن أرضعيه فإذا خفت عليه فألقيه في اليم ولا تخافي ولا تحزني إنا رادوه إليك وجاعلوه من المرسلين. فالتقطه آل فرعون ليكون لهم عدوا وحزنا إن فرعون وهامان وجنودهما كانوا خاطئين. وقالت امرأة فرعون قرة عين لي ولك لا تقتلون عسى أن ينفعنا أو نتخذه ولدا وهم لا يشعرون. صدق الله العلي العظيم.
And we revealed to Musa's mother, saying, Give him suck, and then when you fear for him, cast him into the water, and do not fear nor grieve. Surely we will bring him back to you and make him one of the apostles. And Pharaoh's family took him up that he might be an enemy and a grief for them. Surely Pharaoh and Haman and their hosts were wrongdoers. And Pharaoh's wife said, A refreshment of the eye to me and to you. Do not slay him. Maybe he will be useful to us, or we may take him for a son. And they did not perceive. And the heart of Musa's mother was free from anxiety. She would have almost disclosed it had we not strengthened her heart so that she might be of the believers. And she said to his sister, Follow him up. So she watched him for a distance while they did not perceive. And we ordained that he refused to suck any foster mother before. So she said, Shall I point out to you the people of a house who will take care of him for you, and they will be benevolent to him? So we gave him back to his mother, and her eye might be refreshed, and that she might not know grief, and that she might know that the promise of Allah is true, but most of them do not know. And when we attained his maturity and became full grown, we granted him wisdom and knowledge, and thus do we reward those who do good to others. Sadaqallahu al-aliyyul azim.
Okay, thank you, Sarah and Yasmin, for that beautiful recitation. Okay, so next we're going to have Nora Babashi do a...
We're going to have to do Khadijah first because we see him later.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
So, never mind. We're going to move on to Sister Khadija. She's the president of UCF APSOC, and that's a student organization that talks about the history of Islam and has interfaith. She's going to discuss the challenges of university life and how to overcome them from a youth perspective. Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum. I hope everyone's doing well. So basically I just want to touch upon the challenges that you will be facing in the university life, which aren't much different than what you've been facing already. So it's not any different than other youth within the community, whether they be Muslim, Jewish, Christian, what have you. So you will be facing, drugs. Actually, I haven't really been approached with this. But then again, it's out there, right? Drugs, the parties, the drinking. But it's a matter of what you stand for, right? So if it's something that you don't take part in, if it's something that you don't associate yourself with, you will not be attracted to that life, nor will it come to attract you, right? If they know that this person's reserved, they don't do drugs, nobody's going to come up with a pack of marijuana and be like, would you like some? This isn't really heard of, especially on campus. If you're within those environments behind closed doors, that's when it's a problem. So basically, you'll be in an environment that you shouldn't be in the first place. So I really want to touch base on who you hang out with. That is something extremely, extremely important. You will, I know a lot of you in high school, when you first started, they told you the friends you have now aren't who you're going to be friends with later on when you're done with high school. Am I correct? Or am I just saying that? But it's true, because from middle school to high school, those people changed just within that summer. And later on, they became part of cliques that did things you weren't even proud of. So you lost friends. I lost friends. I know that I have for sure. So people become part of cliques. Look at the lunchroom, right? So let's pretend this is a lunchroom. People are sitting at specific tables because they share something in common with those people at that table. And they stayed in common. They hung out at school during the breaks because they had something in common. They took part, right? They hung out after school. They did whatever they did. So if you associate yourself with good people, you stand your ground, and that's something extremely important. You must find yourself, and you must respect yourself before anything. Nobody's going to respect you if you don't respect yourself. So if you're a Muslim and you stand for no drugs, no drinking, no partying, it's not going to call out to you. It's not even going to be a challenge to you if it's something that doesn't even cross your mind. But something that I do want to hint on is creating that Muslim identity. Because these days, you find that Islam is losing its value, especially because all the radical activities, all of these things. So it is very, very important that your time at the university should be used to change people's image of Islam, change people's image of all these, what defines a Muslim. So, on that note, I want to talk about a little bit about my experience in terms of what was my goal in school. My goal in school was this. Whatever my peers did, I did the opposite. They went left, I went right. They jumped, I sat. Just because they were the rebel kinds. Of course, if you associate with people, when you go left, they'll go left with you. You know? But that's the thing is, do not even associate yourself with them. That's something that's very, very, it's easy to get yourself caught up into things, whether they're good or bad. But once you associate yourself with them, you're going to be sucked in. So I'm telling you right now, I'm going to keep hinting on. Find what you stand for and stick to it. Do not conform to society, especially this society. It's very hard, you know, especially because it's so easy to give into temptation that you stand your ground. On that note, like other Americans, we Muslims, we come from different backgrounds, especially here in the United States and Florida specifically. We have the rich and the not so well off who are students who need to meet ends meet. We have African American Muslims, we have Hispanics, we have brown, white, and then as you know, Afghan and all these standardized, the other. So we're trying to interpolate with our own identity and our own heritage in this cosmopolitan environment. So taking all of that into account, how will you incorporate this into your life at the university? There will be people who will try to approach you. They'll approach you to talk about religion. I know at UCF you'll be walking down, just going to class, and people will approach you talking about their religion, trying to even convert you. So how are you going to deal with this? What are you going to respond when you are confronted? So with that, the way you can overcome these things, first and foremost, you want to show the community, you want to show the environment that you're in, that you have something to contribute to society. You're not just anybody and they can walk all over you. You have something, you stand for something, you have things to offer to them. And do not forget your religion, use it to your advantage. So learn about your religion, that's first and foremost, because when people approach you and they ask you questions, how are you going to respond? What are you going to tell them? I don't know. So just touch base on what your religion is about. History, I know that's a big thing because they'll talk about their history and their religion. And another thing is that Be aware of what's going on in the world. What are Muslim radicals taking part in? Because this is what they're going to do. They're going to try to attack your religion. So make sure that you are aware, you are educated in this area. So make sure you know how to respond. Especially if you wear hijab, you are a walking symbol of Islam. You represent the religion. They'll pick you out of a whole crowd. So how are you going to respond? The way you carry yourself, the way you dress, the way you talk. All of this, they will take into account. If you're a hijabi and you're or like Muslim men, there are some, the way they dress, you can pick them out in the crowd at a university. So what you do is definitely going to be taken into account. If you start yelling, look at these Muslims. And there'll be that one guy who's just yelling and be like, look at these Muslims. So you really have to pay attention to the way you carry yourself, the way you speak. So your life in college is only going to be as good as you make it. So I strongly, strongly urge each and every one of you, not only to go to university to get a degree, yes, it's extremely important, but make a difference while you're there. Join a club. It doesn't have to be a Muslim club. Join any club. You want to show them, hey, we have things in common. I don't just hit the books, go home, and I'm oppressed, especially if you're women. Okay, so show that you have things to offer. Join a Muslim group. I know there are multiple Muslim groups, especially here at UCF if you're going there. These groups take part in interfaith events. They do community outreaches. These are all very, very important, and they are seen as different. I know a lot of people, especially because I have a faith society, when we do projects, a lot of them be like, I didn't know, I see Muslims so much different now. I didn't know you guys did these. I understand the importance of hijab now. That's very important, because even me, I'm surprised. I'm like, really? You don't know any of this? So the media really, really has changed the image of Islam, and it's your responsibility in college life. You've already dealt with the drinking and all these partying in high school. Now it's a different form. It's you forming an identity and showing a positive image of Islam. That is your duty. So lastly, the above, all the things that I mentioned, they cannot be done without a strong support system. So your parents helped you get this far. You will continue to need them. Your mother, you need them now more than ever. Not more than you ever will, but you will need them more than you ever have. Your life cannot be, it is going to be chaotic. You're going to be bombarded with so much new information, trying to figure out where your classes are, who to hang out with, how to even study, because you're completely on your own. So your mother is going to be there. She's going to be the one that you can trust and that you can rely on, just as you have your whole life. Mothers, we also need to be very, very patient. You got to be patient, because I know my poor mother, I'll be so chaotic and getting into things. Sometimes, I won't even be home. I'll be doing my own, studying for exams, going to work, doing all these things. But you just put yourself in their shoes and see that they'll come to you when they need you. They will need you even if they don't show it at first. But just continue to be patient and try to help them open up to you. Don't jump to conclusions. That's a big thing, because right now, in college especially, I know I felt that way. It's like, if I'm in college now, I'm old enough, I feel old enough to make my own decisions. So help guide them, steer them in the right direction, and inshallah they'll make the best of it. With that, I'll conclude. I thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, Sister Khadija, for that speech. So next, we'll move on to Nora Babashi. She's also a graduating senior from Seminole High School, and she will present an introductory speech on she'll present a speech on university anticipation.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Nora Babashi, like Sarah said, and I'm a senior at Seminole High School, graduating this year. Today I'm going to speak briefly about the anticipation of beginning university and how the mother-daughter relationship is paramount to the anticipation. I would like to begin by reciting a couple of ayats from the Quran. وقضى ربك ألا تعبدوا إلا إياه وبالوالدين إحسانا إما أف ولا تنهرهما وقل لهما قولا كريما واخفض لهما جناح الذل من الرحمة وقل رب ارحمهما كما ربياني صغيرا. Your Lord has created. Do not worship any but Him. Be good to your parents, and should both or any of them attain old age with you, do not say to them even if, neither chide them, but speak to them with respect, and be humble and tender to them, and say, Lord, show mercy to them as they nurtured me when I was small. ووصينا الإنسان بوالديه حملته أمه وهنا على وهن وفصاله في عامين أن اشكر لي ولوالديك إلي المصير. We enjoined upon man to be dutiful to his parents. His mother bore him in weakness upon weakness, and his weaning lasted 2 years. We therefore enjoin upon him, give thanks to me and to your parents. To me is your ultimate return. I personally like to reflect on these ayahs because they help me understand the relationship between my parents and I. Graduating high school and moving on to university is like ending one journey and beginning a new one. The one who has been there for me since day one is my mother. She's the one who knows everything about me, from my personality, desires, goals, and dreams. She has always been the one to keep me on track, help me take the extra step when needed. Going on to university means more independence, more responsibility, and more decision making. I rely on my mother to be there to comfort me because she knows me the most, and I know I can always depend on her for more guidance. I believe a mother-daughter relationship is critical when moving on to university because it is one milestone to the other. A mother is the one who has the best interest for her daughter and children in general, and they always want the best. As I read in the ayat, Allah wants you to worship Him first, and then, or not worship your parents, but be good to your parents. Always make them number one after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Thank you, Nora. That was good. So next, we're going to have Sister Sally, and she's going to tell you all how to prep for university.
Alright, Assalamu alaikum. How's everyone doing? Good. I'm going to start with a little bit of my background, so you have a little bit of, if you know, I think, where I've come from and who I am, maybe I will be able to relate to you a little bit better. It's lovely, I think. Oh, she's gone. But her speech was really good in the sense of, you know, what university is about. MashaAllah, the kids were amazing in giving their recitation, and it's lovely to see that. I remember growing up with this. You know, every parent, every mother would say, okay, you're going to study this, and you're going to not embarrass me in public. You're going to show how wonderful you are. So I'm doing a great job. I'm going to start with that basically. Can everyone hear me? I really don't need to be anyway. And I'm going to speak at the top of my head because I'm a teacher. I've taught for the last 12 years. I'm an international teacher. I did IB. I taught at the Canadian school, the American school, the British school, and the Caribbean school. So I was just joking that my kids, my older daughter actually, she was in 17 different schools before she graduated high school. And then my younger daughter here, she says, oh, well, I've only been to 8, and that's good enough, Mom. I need to finish at least high school, full 4 years in one place. For me, yes, I studied to be a psychotherapist, a mental health counselor, and I didn't quite know what I wanted to do, actually. I went to UCF 20 years ago, about. Graduated from there, but I did business and psychology undergrad, and then You know, I did my master's in mental health and information systems. Nothing related there. But then I became a teacher. And the reason I became a teacher, again, because of my kids. And this is where I'm going to start with, from moms. When you decide to have that child, you know, we all think that it's a simple thing. But bringing a baby into this world is not an easy task. I remember I got married very young. And so here it is. I don't know if there's a more confused individual, because I'm from Trinidad, the Caribbean. So I'm being Indian heritage. I mean, that's my cultural background. And then I married a Palestinian. So, wow, we're merging all of this, and my kids were born in the US. And then, you know, traveling back and forth, trying to accommodate everyone's culture. I don't know how many of you are from a mixed background. Just by show of hand.
Everyone looks at me, right?
Okay, so you're from a mix. Is everyone else? I need to sort of know where you're coming from. Indian background? Yes. Pakistani? Okay.
Indian, Pakistani,
Well, wow. I'm glad you said that, because I just probably infuriated someone by saying, well, aren't you all the same?
It is.
No, you're Indian and we're Pakistani. And that would come later on when I'm talking about this. And it's like we segregate ourselves into all these different things. Whereas the country I've come from, or I've lived in, I was brought up where a person is a person is a person. We're human beings. Yes, we are Muslims, Christians, Hindus. We celebrated everyone's culture. To the point that our country, Trinidad, we have a public holiday for Eid, for Eid al-Adha, for Diwali, for Christmas, for everything. I mean, we have tons of public holidays. It's wonderful to go to school there, because you know a holiday is coming up in any month you can think about. Even Shelter Baptists have their own holiday. So it's fun growing up in the Caribbean and not seeing color. Well, of course, no. I have to take that back. You know, in all your cultures, you're going to say, your parents are going to say, stick to your culture. Don't go out and venture out there, because you don't know. And there is some truth to that. So if I'm all over the place, please bear with me. There is some truth to that, because I tell my kids, listen, it's wonderful that you're going to go off to university, you're going to explore and so on. But if you want to have an interracial marriage like I did, an intercultural marriage as I did, get ready to work, because it is not easy. You really need to know what you're getting into. It's much easier to stick to your culture, because you're not marrying a person, you're marrying a family. And, you know, of course we're not smart when we're kids. You know, your parents will tell you these things, but you will not listen. You would think that, oh, what do my parents know? They just know this one way. Listen to them, especially, and I'll come back to the mom. So, moms, we have that child. I remember at 19 when I had my daughter. I got married at 18, still in college and everything. Didn't listen to my parents, any of that stuff. Not a good idea. But they stood by me. Parents don't give up. Whether you think your parents are the worst thing on earth because they don't understand anybody, they actually do. They won't give up on you, but they're going to stay strong, you know? And thank God for that, because as a teacher from 3rd grade to 12th grade, thank God you have. If you're here today and your mom forced you to be here, it's because she knows what's out there. And she needs you to be here to listen, because she can't do it alone. It really needs the entire, you know, society, your family, everybody needs to come together for this. And moms also need some sort of, what you would say, a group. It used to be the family would be there to help each other out. But there's so much, I wouldn't say bickering, but everybody has a different idea of how to raise everybody else's children. And then throw in the American culture of your kids coming home and saying, well, none of the other parents are doing this. This is embarrassing, Mom. You need to get, you know, this is not where we're living. We're not living in the past. I'm sure the girls who are here can probably sort of relate to something I'm saying here. Yes, no, I see from smiles, maybe it is so. Coming back to the moms. And this is where I'm going to go. I was going to read a bit from this book, The Muslim Teens, and there's one part I actually do want to read from. It is talking about our kids in the non-Islamic environment. And let's see, the secret to keeping your kids practicing Muslims. It's only a bit I'm going to read, it seems long, but please bear with me. Parents who practice Islam, an Islamic home environment, limited exposure to media with un-Islamic messages, these are some of the ingredients Muslims often promote for ensuring their children are raised as good Muslims. But these alone are not the solution. Such an approach works for a number of Muslim kids, but not for all. And they talked about Fatima, a girl who wore hijab and everything else, and then she got to high school and college, took it off, and she just went, crazy. She did the drinking, the drugs, the everything else. It takes more work than all of that. It takes making the society around you better. And that's what I want to concentrate on. Caring is the first step. Making the West this powerful entity that has dominated Muslim lives for over 300 years in the military, political, and cultural spheres, obedient to God, is an awesome, and some would say virtually impossible task. How can we make the West or American an Islamic place? It's by caring about the future, not just of our own kids, but by caring about the future of others. So we actually do have to think about the other kids around us, because our kids are not alone. They are interacting with other kids around there. So if we say, okay, it's them, and the author here, I love it. From these kafirs to my people, and that's in quotes. How many of us have caught ourselves saying it, whether to our kids, or to our friends, or under our breaths? These kafirs and their corruption, these kafirs, unbelievers, and their mentality, these kafir children, and their perverse, immoral ways. If you have, you're not alone. This attitude, though, was not the one adopted by Allah's prophets. In the Quran, the prophets would say, call me. I forgot my glasses, so that's why I'm doing this. My people. They preached and persuaded and endured persecution to bring the guidance of God to their people. They did all of these things because they cared about their people. They cared that these people, their people, were headed on the road to death and misery in this world and the next. So think about at the time of the Prophet, peace be upon him, when he brought the message, he wasn't bringing it to Muslims. He was living around the pagan people. So you can't segregate yourself from those or ostracize yourself, apart from what's out there. If we tell our kids just stick to each other and don't have any other Muslim, other friends other than Muslim friends, what are we setting up our kids to do? They are going to live in this society. It's scary that we are going to die off and these kids are going to have to carry on other generation. They're going to have to survive. They did everything in their power to preach and persuade their people to accept the truth so they would be saved. They were motivated by a mission, by a sense of responsibility, and a feeling of deep concern for those around them. So I'm going to stop there for a bit. When we think about raising our kids in America or in the West, a lot of times we're coming from these traditions, including myself, even though we were raised in the West, even though I was raised in the West. Your parents are always telling you to heed to certain cultures. It didn't make sense. Half of what they say do not make sense, but you don't have a choice unless you're going to fight every day with your parents. Yes, mom, yes, dad, you're going to follow through. But as the kids get older, and as I said, I'm going to jump a bit because I know I have 30 minutes and we've got to get to university life. Oh my gosh, I just jumped ahead to what I'm going to say and I forgot where I was. Right. You are going to have to accept a lot of things, both from the mom's point of view and from the child's point of view. So I'm going to start with a few observations as a teacher in the system. And I want this to be a bit interactive. So if you have a comment, if you have something to say, if you're going to ask a question, please do. Because this is what I'm accustomed. This is my arena of when you're teaching or when you are explaining things, I expect some sort of response. Because this is what I think learning is all about. I don't know everything. Being an IB teacher, are there any kids in here that was exposed to IB? Yes. So you know about open-mindedness, tolerance, all the learner attitudes, the behavior profile, all of that stuff. Right. I love that because I think there are so many of us that believe that because we're educated at a certain level, everyone should respect our thinking and our knowledge. I can't even begin to think that I have any sort of knowledge compared to what is out there to be learned. So to put yourself and puff up your chest and think that you've arrived, I think that's like the worst thing ever. But You can learn from people all the time. So I love to learn from my students, even the little ones. Let's go. I'm going to start with the mom, with the mother. A mom sets the example for her daughter. It is such a difficult task, and really we're all aware of the saying, the hadith that says, you know, when the Prophet was asked about who should you respect the most, and it was the mother 3 times, and then the father. The mother has so much importance because guess what? She literally sacrifices her life for that child because she's going to change everything she knows, everything she does. She's going to accommodate. She's going to forget about her, what she wants to do to accommodate her child first. And that's the way it should be. Do I have any objections to that, moms? That you do this. You actually put aside everything. I remember, and like I said, I will keep going back to my experience because this is what I know. And if there are other mothers who would want to say anything. I remember graduating with my master's at 25 and my younger daughter, and I got offered right away a job being the assistant to a senator in my country. So fantastic position. I was a psychometric specialist, and my pay started off at 6,000 and we were going to jump to 15,000 after 6 months. You're elated, 25, and you're going to get something like this. I hired a nanny for my younger daughter, and then I came home one day to see the nanny sort of playing with my daughter but spanking her in a fun way. She was 6 months old. Yeah, about that. I quit that job the very next week and decided to be a stay-at-home mom. That's a hard thing. You're on the road of where you're meeting executives, you are with bank managers, executives from universities, from Lever Brothers, all of these. This is what I was interacting with at the age of 25. Who doesn't want a job that would give you this? To quit it and say, you know what, I'm a mom first. And I would never regret it, and I don't think any mother here will ever regret making those sort of decisions, because if you're here again, it means your mom is an awesome person. And she's here to make sure that you are getting what you need to get to move on. Being that example, I don't, and like I said, my kids were like, you're going to get shot at the end of this discussion. But as mothers, and it wouldn't be the ones here, but you see it around you, and that's where you need to be educated. We are Muslims. It is ingrained in us not to be different from everyone else, to be a human being, just like everyone else out there. It is how you present yourself out there that will make people understand the religion, rather than me having to preach it, to talk about it. And like I said, I would go back and forth. My older daughter, I remember she was in the Canadian school at the time, in 12th grade, I was teaching, and she told me, Mom, of course, my daughter sings, which is quite, that's like going far on the other side, because this is something we struggled with it as a family and so on. But anyways, I told her that a lot of people didn't like it because she won lots of awards and so on, and so she was a little bit popular. No one likes the popular kid. No one likes the kid who is getting everything. And so she said, they're mean to me and stuff. And I said, you need to stick to your religion now. You need to keep that. That's who you are. I'm not going to force anything else. Your relationship that you have with Allah, that's what's more important to me than you showing anything else. When you are down, when anything else, you get that connection going, and that will save you. Not the fact whether or not you will wear the scarf, not the fact of, all of these other things. That's a personal thing. That's something you develop with your Creator. I can't develop that as a mom and so on. And she was there taking a test, and I said, just study your academics, be brilliant. That's a really good piece of information. If you can't fit in, I always tell my kids, be the smartest kid. Be the nerd, because everybody comes to you afterwards when they're in sort of jam to do exams. They're all looking for you. Where are you? Where's that person that can help me figure out something? So she did, and she's sitting in the room for the exam, and she's making dua. All the kids, she's the only Muslim in the class. Everyone else is Christian, and she's like this and praying, and then all the kids around her look and said, Faria, what are you doing? I'm praying. I'm asking God to help me with this test. This is a major test for us. Oh, well, if you can get those grades, all of them did this and they started praying with that. Like, if that's happening for you, we're all doing it. You know, but it gives her strength. It didn't matter to her. She didn't conform to what they thought. She did it, but out of her own connection. They were never embarrassed to say, you know, I'm Muslim or something. And last week I was having a discussion with her. She's now a graduate assistant professor at FSU. She's teaching boys there. And she said, Mom, really, people think I'm Christian. I don't get this. And then she was sitting with her group and she said, I just want all of you all to know that I am a Muslim. And they were shocked. You know, they're like, what? But you're so nice and pleasant and conservative. And she goes, that's what a Muslim is. It is not what you think they are. A Muslim woman carries about herself in such a way that she has good manners, she has a decent way of speaking, she doesn't need to be defensive and argumentative and angry all the time. She needs to be pleasant to everyone. That is what will draw people towards you, not the fact that you have to get defensive when they say, oh, you're wearing that scarf, yes, isn't it lovely, I love it. You know, something, don't make it into something that you have to be angry or to prove. But I'm a person. I like to do all the things you're doing. We laugh, we joke, we do whatever we do. But I always tell her, I don't know why Allah has given you this gift. I mean, as I said, and maybe it is for you to show the world what can be done through whichever route you take, you know. It is a hard thing for us to come to because for her, we had her study so much that her high school was all A's and maybe 2 B's, so we put her in pharmacology. What else? Don't we all decide for our kids, you're either a doctor, a dentist, a lawyer, an engineer? God forbid they would go into teaching or some other menial sort of thing. That would be below our standard, wouldn't it? I told my younger daughter, I'm going to make you an example today because I was asking her, what do you want to be when you grow up? She goes, arts and craft. Oh, that's my teacher right there. You're going to be with the little ones. You know, your kids, you can tell as a mom what would make your child happy. You don't have to make them into that profession that you think you would get some sort of recognition. We have had our time. We decide as mothers who we are, who we were. We made our decisions. Our children are now making their decisions. It is for us to guide them. So I'm coming back again to being a role model. Islam is a religion that teaches cleanliness. I don't get it. Maybe I'm a little bit, and if we all say that we're stereotypical, yes, we are all born with biases, and our parents, we're not born with it, but our parents create it. It's a lie when you say, I'm not biased, I'm not prejudiced, I'm not any of that stuff. Really? I'm sorry, but I am. How could you not be? You have those stereotypes. Your parents, you function. The difference is I don't have hatred. There is a difference between it. I have those stereotypes. I don't understand that particular culture or that sort of, I don't. And I wouldn't pretend to know it. I would try to understand it, I wouldn't hate it, but it's something different for me, you know? Having those things, okay, we're coming back to cleanliness, and as I'm back and forth with this. If we teach our kids about cleanliness and how we look, why is it I see so many kids at the school system dressing in a manner, I'm amazed. You know, they're not clean, the teeth are not brushed, hair is not combed. I'm talking about the little ones. It drives me insane. They come to you and they're speaking and you want to go, sweetheart, just stand a little bit away and I will teach you how to read from here. Because they're killing you with the breath. You need, as moms and so on, let's start, all of what I'm going to say starts from at the time the child is about 2 years old. You cannot start saying, well, you know, I'll let my child run free, it's the little ones, it's okay, let them do what they want, let the boys do what they want, let the girls, it's okay. When they hit about maybe 7, 8, 9, I'll start taking care. No, it doesn't work like that. You've already instilled in that child, you can do whatever you want. I'll just smack you in the butt and send you away and do it again. I'll smack you and send you away. You don't necessarily, it's hard work. That's why you have the title mom. It is so much work, and you need to always find someone you can talk it out, get it out of your system, because they will drive you insane. The kids do drive you insane, you know? If you keep saying, oh, my children, they are amazing, they're wonderful. Of course they are. We're not going to share the dirty laundry out there of how they drive us insane and the room is like this. I threaten to take pictures and say, I'm going to post it on Facebook if that room's not clean. Mom, you wouldn't do that. I love media. Social media is wonderful. You can threaten them with the same thing they threaten us with. You're going to embarrass me out there. No, sweetheart, I'm going to embarrass you first. So, coming back to that, we're starting at the young level, coming up. You have to be the mom. One thing I'm seeing a lot of today as well, parents are scared of angering their children. I don't know when the children became the parent. You know, lots of parents are backing away from their responsibilities. It's like, I give up, I can't handle her, or I can't do this anymore. Somebody else said, we would love to sell our children for a few days and then bring them back, you know, when we calm down. It's normal. But the thing is, when do you give up your rights? You can't. I think when you become a mom, you are a mom for life. You know, I told a friend of mine, I'm done with this mom job. This is hard. You know, I'm tired of battling. Every time you say something, and I'm the type that I don't say because I said so. My kids got to the point of saying, can you just beat us and not talk to us? Because it's long when you have to explain what we did wrong. Then we have to tell you why we did it wrong, and then we still get a spanking. So can we just go to the spanking and not have the explanation? But it works. You have to go through all of that, I think, in order to do this. Also, you are training young girls when they go off to university. If they're dorming, you should have taught them by now how to keep a room, how to do laundry. I know this seems primitive, but guess what? We're still living in a world where men have a certain role. Women are looked upon in certain ways, what they're supposed to do. You can be as educated as you want, but if you have a daughter that can't boil the water or anything else, God help her. You know, she's competing with so many other girls that can do it all. So I'm a very, I wouldn't say competitive mom, I'm a mom that's very realistic. I'd rather tell my daughters and be harsh with them than have someone else do it to them. I don't want an in-law to tell my children anything. I don't want other people to tell my children how to behave. I should be able to see that before they go out there. So, because as a mom, it hurts if someone else, you know, puts down your kid. I don't care where it is, and that's why I understand being in the school system, when parents are irate and they come in, how could you do this to my kid? Well, there are two sides to everything, but that's another long story. Dress appropriate. Of course, we don't have that problem here, but you are going to come into contact with kids like this. You see their moms are trying to dress with the same exact clothes the kids are wearing. Really? I mean, honest to God, you see even the little ones. What happened to little dresses and socks and shoes and these pretty little things you dress up your girls with? The little kids are wearing what the women are wearing. And I'm not saying Islamic clothes, I'm saying in our society, they're not, it's like we're just joining the group. You as a mom, you have to set the standards in your own home. This is what I expect of you. This is how I'm dressing. They can dress Western, but you can be very nicely dressed in a Western way. You know, you don't have to follow along with everyone else. And I encourage my kids, as well as I'm sure a lot of moms, encourage your kids to be leaders, not followers. And that's a long, I mean, that will come along as well. Oh, is it? Yeah. All right. Since I have 5 minutes, I'm just going to jump to the end. University, academics, how to balance. Well, I know the person who was up here said that you have to have certain crowds and so on. Yes, the friends you do keep, they're going to make a huge difference in your life. It's not middle school, high school, it is you are together, those are your networking friends. Those are the ones you're going to use later on in your life. Be sure you know who you're getting involved with. And yes, not because you're Muslim, not because you're wearing the scarf, all of these may protect you, but your child is going to be bombarded with so many things now because they're opening up their minds to a lot of ideas, thoughts, different people. And of course, I wish I had more time to talk about the guys. but I'm pretty much out of time. I hope I just touched a bit of it. I wish I could have continued, but Dr. Yasmin Qadri will do an excellent job, I'm sure. So thank you very much.
Yeah, well, that was really good. I don't know about you guys, but I could connect to a lot of things she was saying. Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay. So, thank you, Sister Sally. But next we're going to move on to Sister Rowan, and she's going to talk to you guys about how to practice for university. Yeah?
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. Dear fellow speakers, organizers, and my sisters and daughters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I apologize in advance because a lot of what I'm going to say is going to touch on what Khadija mentioned and Sally as well. Which alhamdulillah means that I'm somewhat on the right track, and there's no harm in repetition. I mean, look at our holy book, right? So much repetition in there. First and foremost, it's such an honor to be here today. It's so beautiful to see mothers and daughters come together from different backgrounds and walks of life and learn from and share their experiences with each other. I wish I had this opportunity when I went to university. I'd like to thank you all for putting so much effort into making this day a success, inshallah. When we often think of university life, we think of exams, long lectures, assignments, and that's often what we prepare for during the last part of our high school years. Well, that's a crucial part of making your experience at university a success. The social and personal development aspect is important as well. When I look back at my experience in university, the parts I can remember the most tend to be personal experiences that I had, either on and off campus. I feel like that phase of my life had a huge impact on who I am today as a person and as a Muslim woman. During that time, I made some very important decisions. I began to wear hijab at the end of my first year. I became more spiritual. And last but not least, I got married after the second year of university. Keeping in mind that each individual's experience is different, what I'm trying to say is that the few years you spend as a university or college student play a critical role into molding your identity in every aspect, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. After finally making it to the university of your choice, maybe attending the orientation activities, figuring out your schedule and finding your way to the classes, etc., you start to feel the excitement and hype that uni life is all about. You somehow feel a sense of freedom at last. But the freedom of university life comes with responsibilities. You're no longer under the guidance and supervision of your parents all the time. You're in a new environment where you're free to do as you please. Therefore, my first piece of advice that has been mentioned before is to know your priorities and keep reminding yourself of them. Constantly think about why are you at university? For whom are you putting yourself through this? And what do you hope to achieve at the end? I came into university not quite sure what my priorities are. And as a result, I dropped out of my major, which was computer science at the time, and that was actually my dad's idea. And realized that I need to hang out with a different crowd. Which brings me to the next point. Please make sure you surround yourselves with people who have similar, if not the same priorities as you. No matter how hard you try to be goal-oriented, the people you choose to spend most of your time with are going to have some effect on you. How do we find those who share the same values and priorities as Muslims? Well, you can start by finding your university's Muslim Student Association, or MSA office. MSA was founded in 1963. It's a network of student organizations, and it's active on many college and university campuses. You can locate prayer space, stay up to date on MSA events, and meet and introduce yourself to other fellow Muslim students.
even find out where the halal places to eat are on campus. If no MSA listing is found, don't give up. You can get in touch with the University Student Affairs Office. I got a chance to check out the MSA website for UCF online, and it's really neat. I highly encourage you to get involved because I find that it makes the transition to this new environment so much easier. I remember every time I walked by the MSA location on campus, it served as a comforting reminder, and it gave me a sense of belonging. It's also worth noting that you need to be comfortable with your identity as a Muslim and thankful for who you are. Smile at people, greet them, help them if need be, but don't compromise your values. Constantly think, how can I portray Islam in a positive way in this situation? If you look around your university, you may find that there are clubs you could join to get involved in volunteer work or issues concerning the environment. Another factor is family. It's so important that you stay in touch with your family as much as possible, especially for those who will be away from home. Keep them involved in your day-to-day lives. They have been your support system up to now. They know you well and may have faced similar situations and issues. Don't be afraid to share with them the questions and experiences. We all need help and positive reinforcement and advice at some point. I remember when I first started to wear hijab, sharing my experience with my parents, my family, made it easier. Finally, in everything, seek Allah's help and His protection and strength. I'm reminded of an ayah, number 13 in Surah Al-Kahf, referring to the people of the cave. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. نحن نقص عليك نبأهم بالحق إنهم فتية آمنوا بربهم وزدناهم هدى. Now we tell you their story. They were youths who believed in their lords, and we increased them in their guidance. Why the emphasis on youth? As a youth, it's not easy to resist the temptation and blend in the crowd. It's not easy for you to focus on that primary goal, who is your Creator. To Him, if you make that effort as a youth to strive in His way, you gain such a special status that He will take care of you and guide you even more towards the right path, inshallah. And jazakumullah for listening.
Okay, that was great, Sister Roman. And now we're going to move on to Sister Yasmin Qadri. She's going to talk to you guys about conflict resolution, and I heard she's really good. So everybody tune in for this one.
Assalamu alaikum. You're really trying to make me feel so good because I'm the most elderly here. Okay, so we are going to do a little more. You want to stretch a little bit, right? Everybody's thinking about Jummah. Jazakallah khair for coming. This is a day off for the youth, right? You didn't want to sleep late. So we are so thankful to you to come and make an effort, because without you, my driving here for an hour and the most stressful time of the semester, because the final exams begin next Monday, and we are ready to do our calculations for our grades. I'm so overwhelmed. But I said, how can I not touch my youth, right? So I'm here and I'm very thankful to you. So let's do something. I see a very mixed group of children, young adults, not children. I see a very mixed group of people here. So I was told going to college, or so I was expecting a little more older students, but it's okay. Let's get mixed moms here and daughters there. Can we separate you physically only, not mentally and spiritually? I know you. So let's separate a little bit.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
have much time for really
Alright, so girls, can we have you sit down because we're going to do this at the table. Thank you.
So, to write, we're going to do this. Write your name, just hold it like this. So, you can pretty much adopt a card, and you can just write your name and fold it like this so you have the name on it. Okay? So grab a marker, just do that, fold it close and just stick it. Alright, so we're going to make new cards. Yeah. Right, so we're going to make the name card. Looking at the turn around. Where'd you get it out?
I'm going to pull that one in and had to attach the three quizzes.
Okay, so inshallah, as we are ready, I know you're sitting with some people, like-minded people, so you will be talking. But if you can please give me attention, because I do want to accomplish a little more in this very short time. So what we are doing is this paper that you're getting on each table. The daughters, on your table, daughters, I want you to put down like at least three characteristics of an ideal mom. The mom that you would dream of. I wish my mom was. So you put down, I wish my mom was, okay? And no offense to anybody, we're just doing some discussion, so mom is not going to get upset. So everyone put down three, discuss in your group, put down three things that you say, I wish my mom was, okay? And on this table, we are going to write, I wish my daughter was. So what is your ideal daughter? Put down three characteristics. Discuss with each So you are able to hear me a little better with the mic? Yeah. Okay, you have only 5 minutes to write about your dream daughter and your dream mom. Only 5 minutes. So we need to rush.
So you can say one thing and then the other person might say something else. So you hold on your ideas. I'm trying to think of it. Yeah, but then you can. Oh no, I'm just saying that. So I did daughter, and then you list 1, 2, 3, and just start listening to everybody.
Okay, so large enough so we can post it, okay? Write large enough, just 3 characteristics. I know you want to write more than that, but we will just work on 3.
And then They should, shouldn't they? I need to understand. I don't know when moms and we try to figure this
Okay, 2 more minutes. Okay, everyone, drinks don't last too long, so we need to have quick drinks.
Okay. I'm sorry. It's called experience. They know what to do. It's called lesson. It's one thing you guys need to know. George is just one. She just understands. Should be on.
Okay, time up. Okay, time up, everybody. Pretty cool. Time up, inshallah. Okay. So let's put it on the wall. Somewhere here, on the door or the wall. Okay, so are you ready to share? Who wants to go first, Dr. So we'll take a group at a time. Okay, young sisters, please give me your attention. Okay, you can stop. You can stop. I know you'll go on and on, I know that. But let's stop here. And then we'll go with our first one here. Can you take us?
I'm not seeking
Okay, everyone, let's take a look at this. Please, if you can end your conversation and take a look at it. Okay, so what do our daughters, what is an ideal mom to our daughters? Let's take a look at it. Be calm, understanding, communicative, loving, patient. Okay, moms, we have to be patient, kind, loving, and also understanding and cool. Yeah, yeah, that's great. That's very valuable. Okay, let's look at the moms. Okay, take a look at the moms. I wish my daughters were more spiritual, more expressive, a leader, didn't care what others think about, more aware of the company, career and goal-oriented and obedient, and strong and independent. Okay. Very valuable ideas, okay. And the others? Again, you know, an ideal mom is somebody who's understanding, stylish, affectionate. And then I wish my daughter was content, leader, not a follower, strong and confident, good listener. Do you all agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, are there any differences between the goals? I think the goals are very similar.
Yes.
Right? We want to be stylish. We really need to work hard.
Yes.
We need to have some jeans and some, you know. So what we can do is we are going to talk about this. You know, my topic is conflict transformation, not resolution, but transformation. We take conflict and we transform it. I'm doing this presentation because I do not have any conflict with anybody. Not with my children, not with my husband, not with my colleagues. Do you believe that? No. Do you believe that?
No.
It can never happen. It can never happen. I just, you know, I'm a professor at Valencia College, and for the last 7 years, what we are doing is the college is saying, we are spending a lot of money, you know, resources, and if we don't really learn how to get along with each other, then our resources are going to go down the drain. So I was working in the Muslim community for 12 years, and I walked into the Islamic school with the understanding that everybody is an angel because we are working for Islam. There will not be any conflict. We all will be happy individuals because we are serving Islam. It didn't happen that way. So I was a little frustrated, and then I said, okay, alhamdulillah, I found a job, and I'm like, it's the same anywhere. No changes at all. And I was so surprised to see conflict at the college. Conflict with Americans, conflict with civilized people, conflict with the people I love. And I'm like, running away from conflict, you know. So as girls, at least when I was a girl, long time ago, I was told by my parents that to lead a happy married life and to get along with everybody, you don't create conflict. If somebody comes and yells at you, fights with you, just be quiet and move away from there. So we were taught to how to put aside conflict, brush it under the carpet, or not face it. You know? Some of us knew how to face it by being aggressive and fighting. Some of us were like, you know, just whatever. So that can make it very miserable. Our lives can be very, so alhamdulillah, you know, Allah helped me find this way. So there was a peace and justice organization at the college, and I started joining that. And that peace and education, what we did was, this whole conflict transformation goes for a week of training. So they sent us to other universities, invited great speakers, you know, so there's a long process. So because of the time limit, we are going to just focus on how we treat each other. That's the first communication skills on how we treat each other. And believe me, this is all about Islam, but it's done by non-Muslims, you know. So what we are doing is we are trying to work this, and it's really helping us at the college level, between colleagues, with our students, with our families, and all of that. So we are going to see how these things help. And you know, what we are seeing today on these posters is nothing unusual. This is very realistic goals. This is the very realistic ideal mother or ideal daughter. All we are seeing is there's always two sides to a coin, right? We want our children to be obedient. What does obedience mean? Wake up at 8, wake up at 8. Put your hijab on, put your hijab on. Never question. Just do what I tell you to do. That's obedient for some of us. But for some others, you know, wake up at 8 means, Mom, I was working on a paper till 3 a.m. last night. So can I be a little disobedient to you because there's a reason for that? So, you know, these communication skills that are being taught to us is really going to help us resolve some conflict. Our expectations are so real, but for the other person, they may look very unrealistic, okay? So what we are going to do is really talk about how we can use and put ourselves in others' shoes, okay? So we want mom to be understanding and to be able to communicate and to be loving and patient, right? It's like, I give you an example of my little granddaughter who's 9 months old, you know. She's so adorable, she's so loving. But sometimes I have to really discipline her a little bit. Every time she screams and cries, I pick her up from the crib. Now she's getting used to that. She's screaming and crying as I walk by because she wants me to pick her up. So I have to kind of show her a loving way that I'm disciplining you. I don't want you to cry all the time. So sometimes our parents, what they're doing is they are really trying to be very understanding, but they don't know sometimes how. Because there's a book I read, we are like two generations collide, you know? We always assume that this is a different generation. They are immigrants, we are born and raised here, what do they know? So as a teacher, as a professor training teachers, when I started teaching at an American college, you know, and I tell them something good, they would always tell me, you're from a different culture, so that's why you're saying that. And I believed them, and I stopped telling them what I should be telling them to be good teachers, especially about their behaviors and morals. And then in a few years, I realized that whose culture are we talking about? So I started talking to them about, listen, we are going to develop a culture, a teaching culture, that's universal. If I am expecting you to respect me, that has nothing to do if I'm in America or India or Japan or China. You need to respect me. I'm teaching you. If you don't respect me, then how would you learn something? But then there's a big, wide gap of me understanding respect and they understanding respect. So they will tell me, we're respecting you. And I'm like, no, you're not, because you ask questions. You are talking when I'm talking, you know, so that's like, oh, there's nothing. We didn't think it was disrespectful. And for me, I went all my life to a missionary school, you know, when nuns, they're very disciplined. So when they walk into the classroom, all the students rise and wish them good morning, Mrs. whatever. And if we are seeing a teacher in the hallway with books, we run and help the teacher with the books. And I remember my mother, may Allah reward her Jannah, Christmas time, she would make very, very delicious desserts. And she would say, go and give it to all your teachers. And I'm like, I don't like that teacher. She was very strict and she's very mean. She said, give that one a bigger box because she really cares about you. You know, so here, if some students show respect or care for the teacher, they're like teacher's pet, or you want a better grade, you know. Everything that's good, people roll their eyes. Because as a culture, we have been kind of forgetting all of that. So obedience to us might be obedience something else to you. So it's not that I cannot believe the students or the children or the young ladies sitting in this crowd are disobedient. I cannot believe that. If you were, you would not be here. I'm sure some of you, your parents said, let's go, right? I don't think anybody said, oh, I'm so excited, I need to go. No, I don't think. So we have children that are obedient. It's just that we need to tell, and that's what we are saying, we need to communicate to each other what we mean by what we mean, okay? What does understanding mean? For some parents, understanding means you're tired from college, home, and I understand you're very tired. So I'll be like, go and take a shower and have the dinner is ready. Go and take a shower, the dinner is ready. Go and do your salad so we can eat. And you're like, Mom, I'm very tired. I just want to lie down and watch some TV because that is something that will release my tiredness. So there is some different ways each one of us would go through, so we need to understand one. So I want to say for mom example, you know, we are using these 13 principles in our careers. So for us, for example, create an advice-free zone. So we always, as parents, we will try to make an effort that start lecturing and start listening. You know, and I tell myself, after all of this training, I promise myself, okay, I will not give a lecture to my daughter. And I'll ask her and I'll support her, and then we start the conversation. I end up talking, she ends up listening. And then in a little while, I'm so happy that she's listening. She's listening for so long without doing anything. She's sleeping. She fell asleep. You know, so the lecture mode is not working anymore. So what I did was I tried to learn how to text message my kids, how to go on Facebook and put a comment private, you know, not everybody can see it, or even email them. Instant, I get the response that Mom, I'll take care, you know, so like that. So things like listen deeply, you know, we really need to find out if there are some words behind, you know, there are a lot of D's behind the words. We are in a culture where we are literally running. I am honestly telling you about myself. I'm literally running. And I feel so guilty because, I told my granddaughter, she loves reading, so I went to a conference, I brought her a book called When My Dad Was 10 Years Old. And she read it in half an hour, and then I didn't know what to do with her. So I said, why didn't you write a book about your dad when he was 10 years old? And she's like, Dad, what did you do when you were 10 years old? And he's like, no time, he's running. So I changed the topic and I said, okay, write a book about when Grandma was 10 years old. And every day she's asking me, what did you do when you were 10 years old? And I'm so guilty. I want to sit down and listen deeply and practice that. So inshallah, hopefully Allah will help me. So what we do as moms and, bringing this training, I always want to connect it to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So there are times where I think my kids are the best in the world, but then there are times where I just wonder, why are they doing this to me? Why don't they listen to me? So then that's the time where you make dua and say, Wallah, please, help me, help me go through this. Maybe I'm not on the right path, or maybe I'm not saying the right way. So he's the most, powerful, so he can make it happen. Some of us moms, and I think all of us moms, can you imagine cooking, cleaning, taking care of everything, and then every child has a different mood. So we become musicians. We have to play a different instrument every time, Somebody is like, you yell at that person and that person gets worse. Somebody is like, you raise your voice and that child listens to you immediately. So each child is so different, right? So what we are going to do is, we are going to take a shell, each one, as a mom, take a shell, and please pass this box down. So we are going to take that shell and see how it's so different. Every shell is so different. I hope we have enough. Can you take one, please? And pass it around. So if you look at the shell, does it look the same? With the color, with the shape, with the texture? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it so different. Even my nephew has twins, and they are so different. Do you want one? Sure.
Oh, sorry.
So the twins are so different. They have so different personalities. Talk about the children. They can be so different. You will be like, I don't have to talk to Sally. She does her homework. She comes home. She's helping me. What's wrong with you, Yasmin? Why don't you do that? What are we doing? We are just crushing somebody's ego and trying to elevate the other person, and then there's more jealousy among them. So it's so important for us to really create an advisory zone and then listen deeply. Also, give space for unpopular answers. When you ask a question, we know what to expect an answer, but we need to be ready to hear a different answer. Why did you do this? Because I'm hard, I like it. And for some of us, that's not the answer. We just want them to just listen and not respond to us. So our circumstances are so different, our culture is so different, but I do not want us to make an assumption that because our culture is different and because we are born in a different continent, we have our own way. As long as we have the radar, the measuring stick of Islam, no matter which culture we go to, we have some universal values. Whether you are Chinese, Japanese, Indian, American, we all have to pray the Salah in the particular Arabic. So this is universal. I just came back from a conference. I took MSA to a conference in Washington, D.C. that was an international conference called Youth Changing the World. And I had so much kind of my own stereotypes and negative image about American kids, because I teach them, I see them, the way they act, the way they dress, and I'm like, where is this country going? Because our youth is our future, right? When I went to the conference, I felt so good. I said, Alhamdulillah, there's always good people in every culture, every country, every religion. these young adults ran the conference. They were, you know, MCs, like age of yours, like anywhere from 12 to 18 years. And nobody had to wake them up. They were on time. It was so well organized. There were like 500 young adults from around the nation and some from the other world. I felt so good. And the topic was you changing the world through service learning. And for long, we have been forgetting that. You know, I remember some of my kids in my family, they had a college project where they had to go and do something for the elderly. So they would go out of the way, or you know, somebody that you have to cook food for the homeless, you go out of the way to do that. Think about the elderly in our own homes or in our families or in our community. They are just dying to hear somebody sit with them and talk. So, you know, that was about service learning, about hunger, about helping others and all of that. But what struck me was, I had 2 students in my group that I thought they would be leaders. You know, I took 4 people. And those 2 students were telling me that they are Americans because they are born and raised here. No doubt, all of you are Americans. But they were the Americans not representing the crowd that was in the conference. They were the Americans that I looked at them and I was like so exhausted. Then I sat down and talked to them and I said, can you believe this? The keynote speaker was a deaf student. And she was the keynote speaker and she was doing with sign language. You know, this nation has rights for everybody. Deaf, disabled, you know, GLBT. We know that the gays have rights, everybody has rights, all cultures have rights. It's just us Muslim youth that we are in our own world, we are in our own bubble. This is the opportunity for us to stand up, build our identity. Because some of us assume to be recognized as leaders, to be seen as popular people, we need to shred, you know, like how you shred your, you know, change your color completely, so we can be one of them. Alhamdulillah, you know, I was not wearing hijab when I was as young as you. But when I came to this country, I started looking at my own nieces and I learned a lot from them. I always, as a teacher, I look up as my youth, as my teachers. Because you are going to run the future. When I become old and elderly, I better be nice to you now so you can come and visit me or call me or do something about me. Right? So we are depending on them. I mean, I think the moms will agree with me, but I really think that we are depending on you more than you are depending on us. We are following you more than you will be following us. Because you are powerful. You are a new generation here. When we moved here, we had so many things to worry about, to settle, to build masjids, to provide an environment for you all. Now it's your turn to become leaders so we can follow you. You have the best of both worlds, the best of Islam, the best of this country. You know? So it's so important for us to see how can we ask open, honest questions. If you really feel so stressed out, whether it's moms or daughters, it's time to say, can we just go out and have a cup of coffee? Where do you like to go? No, let's go to Dunkin' Donuts, bete. Starbucks is very expensive. Tumko kya pasand aata Starbucks? No. If you say you want to go to Starbucks, okay, mom, let's go to Starbucks. We sit down and then we talk and we say, you know what? I don't know about how you felt, but when you talked like this to me, I felt like you don't respect me. Oh, really, mom? Oh no, you always complain. You always make big things about this. No. Let's hold on to our judgment. Let's ask some honest questions. Why did it make you feel that way, mom? And the mom also can say, you know, daughter, help me. I want you to accomplish this. Your room, like Sally said, was an awful mess. Every time I walk in, I'm afraid it was hurricane here or what. You know, I'm so worried when you get married, what would happen to you? So rather than say, when are you going to clean your room? We can sit down together and chat a little bit, and we can, help each other. I'll help you, and then you come and help me clean my room, right? So things like that. So voices are so important. Open questions are so important. And then respect silence. Sometimes silence, like if our kids or even our parents are, when you talk to them, they don't want to talk to you. Respect the silence. And then ask, are you thinking about something very valuable? I would like to know about it. And then break that silence. Speak your truth. I had these 2 students, and they made me so exhausted at the Washington conference. And they were really nice, very lovely kids. So they asked me, we're so sorry, you look so tired, And I told them, listen, my tiredness is not my physical tiredness, it's my mental tiredness. And I said, I'm so ashamed of you. I brought you here as youth leaders. I want you to learn. I want you to move forward. I want you to make a difference. These youth are changing the world. What about you? Just taking your time, enjoying, we'll meet at 8 a.m., we are meeting at 10 a.m., things like that, And the reason why all the time we are saying mothers are important is that anytime you do good, like I have, alhamdulillah, 2 daughters-in-law. Anytime they do something good, believe me, I don't do it intentionally, but from my heart it says, may Allah reward the mother who trained them this. Because only mothers are so close to daughters. Some dads are also close. I'm not giving that disclaimer, but anything you do, even in my college, some of the students, they are so polite, they are so up there. Like the idol mom that they talked about, the idol daughter, I can say those are the idol daughters. And then I say, who raised you? My mother. And I do want to remember and let Ranjana to my mother, because all of these practice slowing down. We are in such a busy world. We are running. And I blame myself for this too, but find some moments where we can slow down. It's such a blessing to have children, to have girls especially. I have 2 boys, and after that I was praying, Allah, give me 1 girl at least, give me 1 girl. Girls are like, they are so good, they are so loving. They can be a little annoying sometimes, but they are still girls, And then you can share with them, is this such a, looks good, All the time they will ask you, how does this look, then you start asking them, how does this look, and how does that? Even though you don't want to wear it, but just, make them feel good about their choices. Do you like this, you like that? So I think it's so important for us to speak the truth. We have sometimes we have to be very clear on what are our goals. What are we going to accomplish out of these goals? Sometimes what we do is, as parents, we have some goals that we did not meet in life, and we want to see those goals accomplished through our children. For example, I wanted to be a doctor, and I'm like, I could not. That was so terrible, difficult. So I'm telling my kids, you have to become a doctor. You have to become. Those are some unrealistic goals that we can push it on our own kids, or whatever. We had some issues with our own lives. So, all of these 13, believe me, it helped me with my students, with my faculty, helps me a little bit with my family also. So, it's so important. And then I was talking to you about the shell, What do you find in the shell? Usually, every single one is unique. And some of us we don't pick up shells. We can stamp on them and just walk away. Some of us can pick them up. We love to collect shells. Some shells we can find oysters and pearls in, right? So it's up to us as parents and mothers how to identify that beauty in our own children. And the pearl is not a pearl until you really put it in a jewelry and wear it. So we really need to be a little more optimistic, because there are a lot of hadiths and in the Quran also, how we always have to be a little more optimistic. I'm not saying we need to fool ourselves and our family, but I'm saying let's have some hope, okay? And as teachers, we always say, expect that something that you don't expect can come out positive. So what we need to do is really give that value in those pearls and say, you look so beautiful. I'm going to wear you with pride. And that is really a mother's role, to really lift up the shells, pick up the pearls from there and make a jewelry out of it. So that is so important for us to do that. how can we tie this on to our college, you know? As a student, I did my master's in India and I came here. When I came here, people think, oh, where are you from, India? And they said, oh, you cannot study there, right? There's so limited information that people have. You cannot study, right? You have to cook and feed your husband. And I'm like, I'm sorry, my husband really killed a lot of stereotypes. He cooks for me. It's like, really? Yes, I said he does. Would you like to taste some Indian food? He does a good job. And so my husband is known for the Indian food in the college, you know. So yes, I did my master's, but that was not easy. For those of us who are thinking only you are going through all of these challenges, believe me,